Who's ready?
I'm ready. Who's ready?
I'm ready. Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damian Keys here. Welcome to... Have you ripped his trousers off? Brilliant. Al's ripped his trousers. Welcome to the hashtag Ask Damo show. We are number 11. That's right. So we are rifling through these week by week. So this is the show where you get to ask questions and we'll do our best to answer them. If you have any questions, all you've got to do is take to Twitter or any of the social media and hashtag Ask Damo. We'll come and find them. Or otherwise, just send me a message and I'll pick out the best ones. But have we got some goodies?
We are balling with questions today.
Got some questions. So we've got questions. With me as always is Melissa.
Yo.
So we haven't got any parcels.
No
prezzies this
today.
week.
No,
so here's the thing that we can.
Day.
Here's some things that we can talk about before we talk about questions. But it amazes me. It fucking amazes me that there are opportunities everywhere. And this being an absolute classic opportunity, and bands don't take the opportunity. Like, I want stuff for the wall, and I'll put it up, and I'll hold it in front of the camera, and I'll show people, and I'll say, check this out, and I'll put in the link below, I'll put your band name, and then if it's a t-shirt, I'll wear the t-shirt, and I'll take a picture, and I'll actually send it to you, and I'll put it on my Instagram. I'm like, all you've got to do is send it. It's such a fucking piece of piss. Same thing with like the reposts on the Instagram. All you got to do is just literally take a video of yourself playing guitar or singing or in your band rehearsal or at a gig, and then just at the bottom, at Damian Keys 1, hashtag Damian Keys on my Instagram, and every day I'm looking to repost band or musician performance videos. It's how I can bring you value. Take the fucking opportunity, man. Take the opportunity. Send the stuff. We'll put it up here. We'll show it off. We'll take pictures. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. Like, you can see that we have no stuff this week, and we could be showing you your band. So if you have a t-shirt, which you should have, if you have a CD, which you should have, if you have a hat, I mean, beer even. So anything you've got that you want to show off, a mug. You know, I'm drinking out of the Alter Eden mug, and and I'd love a new mug. If you've got this stuff and you want to get it just a bit more featured, there's a bit on this show every single week that is there for you. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of the opportunity. And that's my fucking big rant.
Preach it.
Preach it. Right, so let's go on with the show. And
let's begin.
Question 1.
Okay, so this is from Kate, and she is asking...
Hi, Kate.
Asking, hi, Damo, is it worth advertising merch on Instagram as well as Facebook?
Yes, I think it is. And I think Facebook is still, in my opinion, the best way of advertising something because of how direct it is. And anyone who watches any of my content hears me say that on a day-to-day basis. And the reason is just because it's so direct. Because you can get to such tiny pockets of markets which are very difficult to do on, say, radio or TV or print ads, or even on other social media like YouTube. It's still much harder to get such a tight demographic. Instagram obviously will be very similar to Facebook in the way that you can advertise because of the ownership side to things. But one thing I would say is, because with social media, it is so important that you think about how people are consuming stuff, and this is the difference. So yes, I would advertise it on Facebook because I think that's quite important, but I think Instagram is a really, really good place to advertise merchandise, and at the same time to build up more people as subscribing to your Instagram. And the reason for that is because it is very visual. It's all about the photo. So when you're actually advertising, if you've got a great shot of your t-shirt, which has got a really good logo, and you've got someone really good looking modeling it for you, those things do make a bit of a difference on Instagram. So I think, one thing that's good with Instagram, which is different to Facebook, is it's better to advertise. It's really good to advertise things. So with Facebook, you can just say, I'll just advertise the product. I'll advertise the band. I'll just advertise the whole thing. and you can even advertise likes or engagement. When it comes to Instagram, it's not quite as simple as that. You actually have to advertise an actual product itself, a thing, a t-shirt, a gig, but the capabilities of searching people and demographically finding those people to advertise to is still really, really good. So I think Instagram advertising is a really, really clever way, and I would say that most bands that I've talked to haven't done any Instagram advertising. I think people have dabbled with Facebook advertising, not really understood it, and then stopped doing it. And my thing is, you should be doing a bit every day. There should be some Facebook ads, even if it's £2 a day, or you can chip together 50p each in the band, or whatever it's going to be, but £2 a day, £3 a day, to put it into just getting the awareness of what you guys are doing out into the area around you. And with Instagram, that is a really good way, rather than doing it every single day. But when you've got something coming up, if you've got a great gig and you've got a flyer and you want to put that out there, then Instagram is a really good way of doing that as well. And I think merch that's probably one of the better things. It's one of the better ways to use for a band to use Instagram advertising strategy. So I think it's really strong. So make sure when you're doing any kind of advertising via social media, especially Facebook and Instagram, just make sure that before you do any advertising, your demographic better than anything else. It needs to be so tight. You need to know, are you advertising to males or females? Now, if you're picking both, that's because you've got a 50-50 split of males and females in your audience. If you don't, then be careful, because one of them you are getting much more value for money than the other. If you've got a 70-30 split of male versus female, then I would definitely be advertising mostly towards male. If your demographic is 19 to 24, or whether it's 15 to 19, you need to know that so that you're advertising. Because if you then say, well, we'll just go a bit around it and we'll advertise from 15 to 30, there's a big chunk of that which is going to cost you more money to actually get the cost per sale, as it were, of what you want to do. So it's sticking tightly to that demographic that you want, and not trying to hit 15 million people in one go with a tenner, just trying to actually get to 1,000 people or 2,000 people with your tenner, but making sure that that 1,000 or 2,000 people are the exact 1,000 to 2,000 people that are more likely to actually love what you do.
Do you think Instagram's quite like an up and coming thing in terms of advertising? Because I don't know that many bands that use it, but I think that could be quite a good thing.
I think it's a great thing, yeah. I think, do you know what? I think Instagram, you get a lot of musicians that want to use Instagram more than bands. I think there are more bands using Instagram and liking it more because Instagram is just such a mainstay, such a big player. But I think because musicians are very self-sufficient, so a bass player can sit in their room and take a video of themselves and post it on their Instagram straight away, whereas there is more of a community in a band, and if someone is in charge of the band Instagram, then they're going to wait until the band gets together and then take a picture with the band, and then that needs to go up at that time. So I think musicians will get drawn on their own to growing something on Instagram slightly more so than a band, purely because there isn't that committee which goes on. So, but I think you can really build something on Instagram. I think it's a really, really good way of showing off the behind the scenes better than Facebook.
Yeah.
I think you can really show off the camaraderie of the behind the scenes gigs, the fun stories. You've got the filters, you've got you can even do videos. I mean, there's so much to it, and I don't think bands utilize Instagram anywhere near as much as they could, because there's so many features on it which are brilliant.
And people love visual stuff as well.
Yeah, and that's why the merch. That's why the merch will work, because if you've got good merch and you're pushing it to the right people, one thing I say when it comes to targeting, this time of year, this time of year for in the UK is summer, so it's festival time. Now this is the perfect time to be advertising to a direct market. So if you are in, for example, a metal band, then you're looking for all of the metal festivals in and around the country or around the world when people congregate into one place. If you're in a progressive rock band and you love progressive rock, then you're going to go and find the 2 or 3 festivals that are full on progressive rock, and you're going to advertise to within 10-mile radius over the 3 days of that festival to the right age group and bands that are into, progressive rock and are into that festival, because that will probably be a search criteria for the bigger festivals. Like you'll be able to do a search for Glastonbury, you'll be able to do interests in Reading Festival, so you might even be able to get down into Bloodstock or those sorts of things. So it's really targeting that niche and actually going to the area where that you're going to pick up a lot of those followers.
Nicole's asking, it seems very hard for a solo artist like myself to get gigs right now as the band scene is massive. Do you have any advice?
So the thing with the solo artist versus band is there are pros and cons. I mean, there is always going to be that really great band scene, and part of that is because when you've got 3, 4, 5 people in a band, it is easier to bring down an audience a lot of the time, because you have got your friends, or 3, 4, 5 people's friends, as well as the band itself. So from getting bums on seats to get people in the door, that on a sort of local level, that is a bit easier. But while that's the case, if you look at the other side to it, it is much easier, I would say, to promote a solo artist digitally and online, because you're not having to wait to get together. You're not having to wait to have this committee of who's doing what and when. And you can literally, if you are the solo artist, you can say, I need to do a picture for Facebook. Facebook gone. You can't do that with a band. So it is pros and cons. And I would say, if you want to get out and do more gigs, then one thing I would do is I'd be looking at how you can actually put the gigs on yourself. So I think you should learn to take more control of promotion. So for example, go and actually find a small venue. There's quite a lot, we live in Brighton, there's loads around here where you can hire them out for a bit of money. So it'll cost a little bit of money, but you'll make that back by bringing in other artists alongside what the music you're into, or even other bands, and actually promoting yourself. And actually saying, look, I'll put the gig on, but then I'm actually want to get my money back, plus a little bit extra should you want to. And that way you're taking control of the situation. And that's probably what I would do. But also there's other areas, you can still do open mics much easier as a solo artist than you can as a band. So I think, I think there's this pros and cons. And if you want to turn up to a sweaty, grimy gig venue, as a solo artist, it doesn't feel quite the same really, because of the whole backing tracks, or whether you have got a live band. So I would say it is a bit different, but you can put your own gigs on. You can still make that happen. It's just you're going to have to take more control. All of this stuff is you saying, well, do you know what? That's what I want to do. So I've got to find a way around it. I've got to be a problem solver. And if you're finding that promoters won't take a chance on you, then you might have to say, I'm just going to have to be the promoter myself and actually go down that route. But I think, what you lose in the aspect that we're talking about with going out with live bands, I think you really, really gain on an online footing with the speed that you can work at. Because when I talk to bands, one of the big things that lets them down is speed, because they've got to get everyone together, and Dave works, so we can't actually get together on Wednesday, so we tend to rehearse once a week. And I'm like, fucking hell, guys, I mean, you want to compete on a national, international level. If you want to compete with these big bands, you can't just go and rehearse once a week. It's just not enough, because if you rehearse once a week, you're going to rehearse 50 times in a year, because you're not going to rehearse over Christmas. 50 times in an entire 12 months period. Is that enough? No fucking way is that enough. No way. Anyone who's rehearsing once a week and is going, we want to be the next Muse, well, I got news for you. That's going to be very, very difficult. So in which case, as a solo artist, you can rehearse 7 times a day. Like, do whatever you want, because you're in control. So it's that speed that is so powerful, because decision making when you're the artist is just what you want to do. So you can literally make decisions, and that's the difference between small businesses and big businesses, is there's no committee. Someone just says, that's what I'm going to do, that's how I'm going to do it. The album cover, that's what I want. Everything doesn't have to go, what do you say? How do you feel about this? Oh, I didn't like this bit. Maybe we'll try again. It's just someone saying, that is what I want, off we go. So the speed that you can work as a solo artist is really, really great. But it just means you get a few downsides, which is trying to actually get live gigs with bands can be a bit harder. But you can push yourself really, really hard on digitally, very, very easy, and that's what I would do. And if you're in control, another thing to think about if you're looking at doing gigs is I'd look at building up a YouTube following and actually using YouTube Live and Facebook Live to do these gigs in nice places. So it doesn't have to be in your bedroom. You can go somewhere and set it all up and do your own gig. But we've got to get away, and I'm going to be saying this a lot over the next few years. We've got to get away from these rules, because it's not that we need to break the rules, it's the fact that there are no rules. This idea that a gig has to be in a sweaty venue is no longer the case. A gig now can be to 10 Australian people while you're in Manchester. There is so many variations on things that the rules have gone. You get to make up the rules, and there isn't really these right or wrong answers. There's wrong answers because it doesn't work, and then you just go, that didn't work, we'll try the next thing. But I think as a solo artist, what I'd be looking at building a following and just saying, my gig is going to be through the camera. And there's lots of people going, fucking, what are you talking about, gigs through a camera? But why not? You could definitely get 1,000 people. I mean, a good band could do a Facebook Live to 50, 60, 70,000 people. It's Wembley. Like 80,000 people, that's Wembley Stadium. Okay, they're not in one place at one time, but you can do that. So I think the pros and cons, I think if I was an artist, I'd be looking at thinking of different ways to do gigs, and I definitely would be looking at building up my own show digitally online and having what we do. I do the Wednesday night, every Wednesday, 7 till 7:30. I do Facebook Live. That's just a performance. You ask me questions, I'll answer them. I would do exactly the same thing, but I'd have my piano or my guitar in my hand and do the same stuff.
Okay. Cool. So we've got a band asking a question now. This is from Tidal Wave. It says, one of our songs has been used extensively on others' YouTube vids, but we're turning on monetization, bring revenue.
So this is a great question, because we're starting to delve into monetization on YouTube, which is something that we haven't actually talked about before. And I don't monetize any of my videos. And there's 250 odd videos that I've got on my YouTube. You should subscribe. And there is a reason for that, is because I really want to bring as much value as possible to you guys. And I don't feel like the money that I will bring in is worth the value that I'll be taking away from you by having the advert, if that makes sense. So I know we're surrounded by adverts, but when people are going, oh, fucking adverts, I hate that. I like the fact that when someone clicks my video, it should go straight into it, and I should pop up and I should be there straight away. So, and I think for me, the money that I'll get isn't worth losing that extra bit of niceness, for example. But you better believe if I was turning over 1 million views on a video every day, then I probably would turn on monetization. But what I would do is I would be smart about it. I would probably not monetize every single video I've got. That would be my bit of advice. I would monetize bits of it. So, and do you know what drives me crazy? And I know this is a thing, but when you get YouTubers that are obviously trying to get money, and they've actually split their video up into about 7 different pieces, and they've got like 7 different adverts through the video, and I'm watching a video and then these adverts are popping up, and I'm like, all right, it drives me crazy. So, but at the same point, it probably brings in a lot of money. So you have to weigh it up. But my advice on this would be, when you turn on monetization on YouTube, you are going to lose a little bit of the value to the end user. So you have to weigh up what you feel. And when I see bands who've turned on monetization and they're getting 100 views on a video or 200 views on a video, it's not worth it, because by the end, it's going to be like when you put a single on Spotify, and I chat to people and they go, yeah, but every little bit counts, and I've just had a royalty check for $3, and I'm like, yeah, I suppose, but like in that case, you're not doing it for the money, because you're not going to live off that. And I think the same thing with YouTube. If you're going to monetize this and you're going to say, man, we could be making 500 quid a month. This could make a huge difference to the quality that we are creating. If you're going to bring in $500 a month, and you're going to put that $500 a month into more gear, more equipment, more people, and you're going to build it up, therefore you are bringing more value to the end user, then I think that's a good thing to do. If you're just going, well, we might as well because we'll make a bit of extra money, and you're going to piss off the user, and then you're going to get an extra 20 quid every month, I probably wouldn't do it. So I think it's this question for me is about when, not if, because I think there's lots of guys who have millions and millions of views a day that don't monetize it because they don't need to, and there's plenty of small smaller YouTubers and bands that have it switched on that I feel like they shouldn't have it switched on. So for me, it's like, yes, you should turn on your monetization on YouTube at the right time. I probably wouldn't monetize every single video. I'd probably monetize the videos which have longevity, which are going to actually create some money. So for example, we talk quite a lot on YouTube about playlists, and you might find that certain videos that you do really, really run, and some videos that you do don't. So you might find that you're making vlogs and blogs and they're okay, but then people are watching them here and there, and then you'll do a cover and all of a sudden you'll get 100,000 views, and then you'll do more little vlogs, and then you'll do an original song and you get 100,000 views. That one, monetize that one. Don't monetize all of them. Just say, we know that one's going to be a biggie, so that's the one I want to do. And if all of a sudden it starts to go very, very fast and you're thinking, Jesus, I wasn't expecting this, but this video is already up to 5,000 views and it's only been a week in, then you can always go back and monetize it, I'm pretty sure. So for me, this monetizing thing is all about when, so that it doesn't piss off the end user, and then what you're gonna do to ensure that if you have sort of just lost a little bit of credibility with the end user, just a little bit, not loads, but just a tiny bit, what you're going to do to compensate that.
This one's from Joe saying, "Hi Damo, I'm a passionate songwriter, but my technical skills are quite limited as a musician. Should I put my energy into learning my instrument better or focus on songwriting with other musicians?" So
I would say, and this is not a cop-out answer, but definitely both. And the reason why I say both, and the reason why when we were talking before about questions, because we had quite a few questions this week, this one stuck out, is because I think patience and longevity is very, very important. And so what I see from quite a lot of musicians is this idea that we need to sort this out in the next 6 months. And that, for example, is a short-term view. So this is Joe. And when I think of this, the question, Joe, I'm thinking that what you're doing there is you're thinking in a short-term way instead of a long-term way. And thinking in a short-term way is, I'm going to have to learn the instrument, and at the same time then I've also got to do my own songwriting. Well, over the next 6 months, that's a pain in the ass. But depending on how old Joe is, but if Joe's in or just finished or recently in the last few years finished music college and you're under 30 years old and you're going to retire at the age of 70, that's 40 years. So you can definitely learn an instrument in 40 years, So I would say you do need to do both. You definitely need to be working on your songwriting. You definitely need to be collabing. You definitely need to be learning about that songwriting. But at the same point, you can definitely get better, because when you sit there with a piano and you're collabing and you can say, look, I've got this idea, or you can pick up a guitar on top of that and just say, look, I've got this idea. I would look at, prioritizing is a big thing for me. I really feel like musicians don't prioritize very, very well. So everybody wants to do a bit of everything. And when I very, very first started my first job, which was I started working teaching bass at the Academy for Contemporary Music. I was 19 years old. I had some great mentors. I started then managing a department, and the guy who owned the college just said, this is very simple. Only spend time doing the most important things. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. Do the thing which is more important, and always do the thing which is most important. And it was such an amazing bit of advice that I still stick to now, where I'm looking at the things and saying, what is the most important thing on my list of things to do? And so if that is the case, I would be looking at, depending if you want to learn piano or guitar or ukulele or lute, I don't know, whatever it's going to be, I'd go and find someone and I'd say, I need to learn fast. So I haven't got 5 hours a day to sit and practice. So in which case I need help. I need someone who's going to come in as a specialist and actually sit there. So I'm not sitting there figuring out, because, for a lot of the people watching this, when you sit with guitar, the first year or so, it's just you sitting figuring stuff out and messing around and going, oh, that kind of work, I quite like that. And it's just, and then all of a sudden, maybe you go to music college and maybe you get lessons. It's quite a slow burning process. Whereas once you get to a certain level as a musician, like I really want to learn to play piano. So, and I know that if I sit down with a piano teacher right now, my theory is good enough. If they say a C major chord, at least I'm going to go, yeah, I know what that is. I just need to know how this stuff works, and I need to know how the technique goes, and I'll motor it. So I just don't want to be sitting there fiddling with it. I want someone to come along and say, what you need is blah, 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 blah. So I would look at how we can do things fast. I would get yourself a teacher, whether it's a guitar teacher or piano teacher or whatever it is that you want, and just say, I need to learn the basics and I need to learn them fast, and give me a practice routine and then work on that. But it is a funny one, because if you're going to think about whether you should work on your songwriting skills or your instrument skills, it's thinking in a short-term way. And everybody watching, you have to think about, you are going to retire at, say, 70 years old. That, even if people are watching right now who are 60 years old, you've still got 10 years. You can learn another instrument at 60 and actually bring a really great aspect to your game. But most of the people who are watching this are between 18 and 30. So you've got 40 to 50 years. Yes! Like,
So much time.
So stop thinking in this, we've got to do it now, got to do it now, got to do it now. You want to work as hard and as fast as you possibly can. But also, you want to be patient for the long-term game, knowing that in 30 years' time, you are just adding to your game and you're getting more and more employable.
Yeah, I think also that takes some of the pressure off it as well, because even if you are working really fast, it doesn't mean that you have to get it straight away.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just feel, I wish, that's something I talk quite a lot with musicians, but musicians are the most impatient people. They want everything now. They just go, how do I play Wembley Stadium next week? And I'm like, well, playing Wembley Stadium is one thing, getting to next week is one thing, putting them together doesn't work. So, just a bit more thinking long-term and longevity, and you could definitely do both of those, even if one of them takes a priority, even if one of them is, I'm going to work on my songwriting, however, I'm going to spend an hour a day working on my guitar skills. Acceptable.
Cool. So we will move on to the last question now. So this is from John. Hi, John.
Hey, John.
He says, thanks for all the advice. I'd like to set up your saving the music industry idea of having people subscribe to my band, but with still only about 1,000 likes on Facebook. Is it worth doing?
It's a good idea, isn't it? My saving the world idea. So it's a good idea. So quick recap, in case you haven't seen the video, we should probably put a link to the video down below, but I made a video, and the concept is, we're in a different time. Music doesn't cost anything. Music is effectively worthless as well as being priceless, because if you think about the music that's changed your life, that you absolutely cannot do without, those songs that have steered you through your entire life, how much are they physically worth to you? Nothing at all, because you can go and get them on Spotify or YouTube, so they're not physically worth anything unless you feel guilty enough to want to actually put some money into them. So with that in mind, music is both priceless in your life, but also worthless because you're not going to really pay for it. And too many people are making these strategies when it comes to releasing music and saying, I'm going to release music. And I say, fantastic, how are you going to do it? And they say, well, I'm going to put it on Spotify. And I'm like, so you're going to sell the music? They say, yes, by putting it on Spotify. Now, if you're Muse, fair enough. If you're a massive band, that works. But if you're a very small up-and-coming band, then all of a sudden you've just diluted what you're trying to do. You're either trying to sell something or you're trying to get the word out there. If you try and do both at the same time, where you just say, we're going to build the audience, we're going to spread the word, we're going to get people to pay for it at the same time, we're going to do what we want, none of this works together. So, but I digress. You're in your band, you're starting to get more and more likes, and all of a sudden, how can you monetize your product? Well, we are in an age now where people are the nosiest they've ever been. They want to see what you're doing, and there is loads of great social media ways of doing this. And so what I would do, I know I could do this with what I do to monetize it, is I would be looking at giving lots of tasters, but then keeping some aside and saying, if you want the full subscription package of the band, you pay, for example, £1 a month. And for that £1 a month, because this is literally just a business idea, for your £1 a month, what you get is, and this is up to you, depending what you want, the £1 a month could be anything from, you get a free t-shirt, don't comment and just say the maths don't add up, because all this is a price point. You could have £10 a month, but whatever you want to do, you could have a t-shirt, you could have free gig tickets, you could have, and then you could have license to a certain amount of content that no one else can see. You could get 3 songs per year that aren't on any albums that you release. You know, there's things that you can do where you could just say, here's all our stuff, but as a side note, all the special people get this. And there's loads of ways that you could do that, and what you're doing there is you're building up lots and lots of tiny retainers. So you're saying, oh, for the super fans of your band, and every band has got a super fan. So some bands have got loads and loads and loads of super fans, some have got just a couple. But you can do this, the good thing with this is you can do this idea on a low level. So if you wanted to go through the video which I did, which is about 15 minutes long, which has got a lot more detail in it, it's on my YouTube. I'll try and put the link in, remember to put the link in below. But this idea that someone is paying you £1 a month in order to see more content or get more songs or whatever, or get priority tickets or whatever it's going to be, this is not a new idea. This is just a subscription service that's been around since the Beatles. The thing is this would work in today's day and age so well, and bands aren't doing it because of the free technology that we have now got around us. And when I made this video, someone said, do you know what, the guy from Blink-182 tried a very similar thing to this about 15 years ago and it failed. And I was like, exactly, 15 years ago, but the guy was so ahead of his time that right now it probably would work, because now is the time that any band can just take over the world with a phone. So that's the idea. Now, the question is, now that we've gone through, is it worth it? Yes, because it doesn't matter whether you've got 1 subscriber or whether you've got 1,000 subscribers or whether you've got 1 million subscribers. And let me explain this. Let me explain why this is really, really important. Is because not only is there a financial sort of aspect to this where you might get an extra 10, 20, 30 pounds a month, whatever you want. I mean, if you're Biffy Clyro, you can charge 30 quid a month for the big package, and you get to meet Biffy Clyro or whatever it is. I mean, Lady Gaga, when she does her gigs, she has this one thing that you can buy into with the tickets where like 5 or 10 people get exclusivity to the VIP lounge, and they buy this VIP tickets and they get to actually spend 10 minutes with her and actually hang out. And it's like, it's like £1,000 a ticket. Yeah. So it's just exactly the same as that. It's just that you're doing this with content as well as other stuff. And you're doing it on a retainer rather than a one-off fee. And the reason why this works as well as the financial aspect of it is because it keeps you concentrating on the most important thing, which is the fans. And this is where 90% of you are fucking it up. I promise you, is because you are concentrating on 2 things. You're concentrating on the music industry and you're concentrating on your own ego. And those 2 things mean fuck all in any world. And as soon as you start concentrating on the audience and what they want and what they love and how you're bringing value to them, all of a sudden it will grow massively. And the really good thing with this idea where people are effectively signing up is you want more people to be these super fans. So what are you going to do? You're going to look after them. You're going to do the one thing that you need to be doing every day, but you're going to be doing it times by 10 because it's totally worth it financially as well. So the great thing with this idea is, even if you've got one person that says, I love your band, I'm going to pay you £1 a month. I'll pay you £12 a year. And for that £12 a year, I know what I'm going to get because you've dictated what that's going to be. And next year it might be 15 or 20, but you get more stuff. Whatever that is, that's just your business decision. Even if you've got one of those people, it means that you are looking after that one person just so well. Like, you are so looking after that one person that they are going to tell the entire world. They are going to show the world. They're going to show it on their YouTube. They're going to show it on their Facebook. They're going to be at the front. They're going to be going, oh, I got this from my subscription the other day. It's so cool. I got a signed picture, or you know, I got some artwork where the guitarist who loves art has done this art and he sent it to me himself because you've only got one follower. You can really look after that. And this is the key, is you get to look after people on a different level on every aspect of the band. So if you've only got one fan, then you can do things that the big bands can't do. And I hear all this, oh, it's okay if you're Biffy Clyro, it's okay if you're Muse, you've got all the money, etc. If I was Biffy Clyro, I'd be like, fuck you, man. You've got one fan. You should be able to make that fan feel like it is their birthday every single day. You can just sit there and you can draw something awesome and you can send it to your one fan and just say, I was thinking of you, here's this is from us. They're going to fucking lose their shit. They're going to tell everybody. Biffy Clyro can't do that times by 10 million people. It doesn't work. So it's just thinking of it more on this one-to-one basis. How can you look after your fan base and make them lose them shit on a daily basis? And if you're only doing this with 10 people, that's easy. Totally easy. And then when you're doing it with 100, you've got more money and you can find other ways of doing it. So it's brilliant, even if I do say so myself, it's brilliant on every level. Because what you're actually doing is just looking after people in different ways. And it doesn't even, this is the fucking genius of it, is it doesn't even need to cost you any money. You could draw something on a napkin and you can send it to someone in the post, and that's going to cost you like £1. It doesn't have to be this, where's manufacturing costs of CDs? Well, don't fucking do a CD. Like, sell your CDs like everything else. Do something for your audience that they will fucking shit themselves over, and just say, but for the real special preferential treatment that you're going to get, it is going to cost you £1 a month or £2 a month or £5 a month. And that is why, John, yes, the answer is you absolutely should try this idea, even if you've only got one person, because that one person will become 10 real quick.
Because like even with like 1,000 likes, you'd only need 10% of that to have 100 people subscribe to you.
Yeah, and when I said this before, lots of people was just sitting there doing the maths, and I'm like, you're not thinking of this right. You're thinking of the maths. You're thinking about how you can get out of your job, or you're thinking about how you can look after yourself. The whole point of this is it's not you. It's not ego. It's not kind of going, well, unless I can get 10,000 people buying into it, then it's not worth it. Well, fucking don't be a musician. Don't do something else. This is a way that you can actually look after people and they can start to look after you. And it's a two-way thing. And you build it up over a long period of time. And in 10 years' time, I mean, the very first band I ever went to see live was a band called The Stranglers. Because my father took me to see the Stranglers when I was like 14, and therefore I'm just an absolutely massive. Even though it wasn't I wasn't a demographic of. I was the youngest person in that gig by a million miles. When I went back for my birthday, I was like, I want to be a part of the Stranglers information service. That's what I want, because you pay a subscription and then they send you a magazine every month and they just look after you and you get all the stories. And this was before all social media stuff. And every month I'd get like either a signed picture or I'd get like a magazine. Oh my God, every month, as soon as it came through and it had the Stranglers stamp on the envelope, it was like my birthday. Every time. And it was like, it wasn't expensive, it didn't cost a lot, but I just loved it. It was amazing. And it was because that band really meant something to me. So what you're doing is effectively just looking after those people instead of thinking about yourself and how you can make enough money to actually make CDs, because you can make stuff for these people which is just content driven. You can just sit there with a camera and you can just say, hi John, I really think you're a cool dude and I just wanted to sit there. You can have a Skype meeting. You know, there's so many cool things that you can do. You know, I mean, I have Skype meetings probably 3 to 5, maybe about 5 a week with bands and artists. You know, for things like this where people say we're a Skype and people say, oh yeah, they'll come up with the answer, and I try and allocate some time so I can talk to you guys. It doesn't cost anything. It isn't me saying, well, what am I getting out of it? Because it's literally one-to-one, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for when you've got a problem and I've got some time, because you're doing the right, you're watching my stuff and you're liking my stuff and commenting on my stuff, and I'm thinking, what can I do to bring you value? That is a thing I can do to bring you value. And this idea is just not financially driven, but it absolutely could be.
Yeah.
It's a way that starts off by looking after the right people, after the fan base, and after a while you're sitting there kind of going, shit, we can all quit our jobs because we have built this thing up. And therefore it's, again, going back to longevity and thinking about the long term.
Yeah, sort of just starting small and growing a network.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Do it. Everyone should do it. I'm going to call it. And it's a name. It's called the Damian Keys idea. That's what it is.
And on that note, we have come to the end.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for watching. So we've got a few more videos coming up this week. I really need you to go and subscribe to this YouTube, because that is what this is all about. I need you to like, comment, add some stuff, ask me questions, get involved. That's what this is about. This is about getting involved. This isn't an ego thing. This is about how you can get involved, how I can help you. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will probably see you. If you add a comment, I will see you. If you talk to me, I will see you. If you ask me questions, I will try and help you. So let me help. So anything you need, give me a shout. Twitter's probably best, Damian Keys on Twitter, or if not, YouTube, Damian Keys. If you stick that in anywhere, there's not many Damian Keyses in the world. Otherwise, thanks very much.
Cool.
See you next week.